The remaining Rise of Floodborn cards are finally here. That means we get to check out all the remainder cards and see what they have in store for us for the rest of the next 3 months. Hi everyone, this is D Summer from Mushu Report, and yes, we got all the remaining cards today for Rise of Floodborn from the companion app for Disney Lorcana, which means we got a grand total of 41 cards from there and another one from Polygon. That's 42 cards to cover today for all the remaining cards for Rise of the Floodborn. So let's jump right down into it, and I'm going to be rating them since I think you all like that. Let's get started. As always, we're going to be starting at Amber Ink. First up, we're going to go with Eudora, Accomplished Seamstress. So this is a 5-cost character with 1 nice stats. I'm going to be starting with all the vanilla. So this one is okay, I guess, for a 5-cost vanilla that is going to be staying alive for pretty long because of the 9 willpower. The only issue is, of course, is just that 1 strength is not really good at hitting back, but hey, if you actually have your board properly covered and then maybe you can just keep healing her up because she has 9 willpower, we'll say your Rapunzel gifted with healing, then yeah, you can just be getting a lot of card draws while you heal her up and just safely quest with her. She doesn't have a lot of willpower, she doesn't have a lot of strength, but that's alright. So that's the idea for this card. I think it's okay. There's some plays to be made for it. It's not a must play, but it's definitely, you know, there can be spots for this card in the right deck. Moving on, we have Piglet, very small animal with 2/4 stats for 3 costs, and it's a 2 law. So that's actually pretty alright because this is just 1 cost less from the very standard, say, wardrobe with your 3/4 stats and just 1 law. So Piglet over here just has 1 lesser strength, but she actually has 2 law. So that's pretty decent, I think, for a vanilla. And I guess the main thing is that you can actually play Piglet along with your Winnie the Pooh to get extra points in your Lorcana League. So this is something to be considered, but I would say only for if you are playing for the Lorcana League points, because I personally think at this point of stage where we have more than enough cards in the set already, we don't really need to be playing with vanillas that much for now, do we? Unless we're going to be going for a shift with the Floodborns, then you want to have the lower cost vanillas, then that would make perfect sense. Otherwise, I don't really think that there's a good use to play vanillas for now. So this one, I would also put it as a B. Both of them are just decent stats, I guess, for their costs. But yeah, I'll rather not play vanillas. Moving on, we have the Queen Regal Monarch. So this one is a very simple 1 cost character, 2 stats. That's about it. That's your queen. So this one, I would actually say that we were bored pretty much with getting all your 1 cost 2 characters, but there's a slight difference over here simply because the queen actually has a shift character, a Floodborn, if you all remember correctly, which is the Queen Commanding Presence that is actually shift 2. So by turn 2, you can go into a 5-cost character with the Queen Commanding Presence. Now, her ability is not going to be that useful because the ability is whenever it quests, your opposing character can get -4 strength and another character you choose get +4 strength. It's not that useful, especially you're going to be playing this on turn 2, but hey, the idea is you actually have a 5-cost character on turn 2, so you can start doing some song singing with Grab Your Swords, or you can even go for a turn 2 A Whole New World if you want to. Do you really want to? I don't know, but now it's possible for turn 2 Whole New World. So that's the crazy part of it. So if your idea is going for a shift Floodborn play where you turn 2, you want to go for your song cards or your Whole New World for Amber Steel, I think that the Queen might actually be a card that can be considered. Alright, so that's for the Queen. Moving on, Gaston Baritone Bully. So this is another card for song decks for maybe that same Amber Steel deck because Gaston has Singer 3. That's it. He has no other abilities. He's a 3-cost, 3/3 character with 1 law, but his Singer 5 means that in turn 3, you'll be able to sing your Whole New World and your Grab Your Swords as well, just with Gaston. So he has slightly better stats than Ariel's Spectacular Singer, and that's kind of the main point here. If you really want to play a song deck, then you would want to consider playing this Gaston for sure, especially since there are quite a few nice good songs in this Rise of Floodborn. So yes, this is actually a pretty decent card. I would say for song decks, you would definitely want to play this card. Moving on, Nana Darling Family Pet. So when you play a Floodborn character, you may remove all damage from a chosen character. Not fantastic. Two costs with 1/3 stats is not great, especially when you have vanillas with 1/3 at 1 cost. So, and as I still say, I don't really like all the when you play a Floodborn card. So I think I'm gonna be rating them as D again, as before. So yes. Next up, Mulan Free Spirit. And I have to say, my girl Mulan. I'm very happy that she got another card. It's not the greatest because it's just a 3 cost with 2/3 stats and it's support. So it's okay, but yeah, the Mulan, the issue is they don't really have something that you can use to shift very easily, because right now there's a Mulan Reflecting, there's a 4 cost character, and yes, shift 2, but your lowest cost Mulan is currently this Mulan Free Spirit that is a 3 cost character. So there is no 1 cost Mulan for you to shift by turn 2 into the Mulan Reflecting. And that's that bit of an issue, I think. So because you want to save on the cost to actually get your song cards access to it via Mulan Reflecting. So yeah, I think that's probably one of the bigger concerns here. So in the end, for a 3 cost 2/3 stat, I really love the artwork, but I'm sorry, she on a gameplay side of things, I think we're commenting here more on gameplay, right? Then yeah, I think she belongs in the area where she can't really be played as much. Yeah, that's my thoughts for this. Next, we have Snow Whites, and Snow Whites are actually pretty good this time round. So Snow White has a very simple Snow White Lost in the Forest, 2 cost, 2/3 stats. The basic Simba Protective Cup or Vanillas all have this stat, but she has an ability again. So yeah, Amber Ink is really getting the good stuff with your 2 cost, 2/3 characters. Where this time around, she has, when you play this character, you may remove up to 2 damage from a chosen character. So that's pretty nice. You can actually just play her as vanilla since she has the basic good vanilla stats, but if not, you can just use her to heal up your stuff, and that's pretty not bad. Though I guess it's not useful as a turn 2 play, because typically you won't have anything to actually be challenging and getting damage on your turn 2, but yeah, I think it's nice to have the option for your Snow White. So I would say this can definitely be considered, at least for one very big reason, because we have Snow White Well-Wisher. So Snow White Well-Wisher is a shift 4, so you can play her by turn 4. She's a Floodborn, and she's a 6 cost 3/5 stats, which is okay, I guess, because similarly there's the 6 cost Gaston with 4/4, and there's a couple more like these. So yeah, the similar total 8 stats. So, and she has the ability Wishes Come True. When this character quests, you may return a character card from your discard back to hand, which is very nice, simply because you can just keep getting it every single turn. So this is something they can consider for Snow White Lost in the Forest, or this was also previously the Snow White Unexpected House Guest, but that is mainly to be played with 7 dwarfs. So if you're not playing 7 dwarfs, but yet you want to shift into this very decent Snow White Well-Wisher, then yes, you will want to play the Snow White Lost in the Forest and Snow White Well-Wisher. I definitely think there's space for it compared to overplaying, say, Hades. At turn 4 anyway, you might as well just play her over another Snow White, and you get much better stats with 2. You can quest 2 and you can just get your stuff right back away for every single turn even. So yeah, what's not to like? Next up, we have Sleepy's Flute. Exert this item card whenever, if you play a song this turn, gain 1 lore. This is not bad, I guess. It's kind of comparable to the Sorcerer's Spellbook. So the Sorcerer's Spellbook is a 3 cost card, it's uninkable as well, and you have to pay 1 ink as well as exert the Sorcerer's Spellbook to gain a lore. But this one, once you bring out Sleepy's Flute, as long as you play a song card, you get it for free. So Amber Ink really has a lot of different ways to try and get to make good use of them playing song cards. I personally, so far, I don't really like these kind of items which are exert and you gain lore things, because I think there's better cards to be played that just gets you lore anyway, and especially this is conditional, it's a bit tougher to pull off. So might as well just play a character maybe. So that's my thoughts on it. Okay, moving on. We have Dr. Fossilia Savvy Opportunist. So he's a 4 cost character with 4/2 stats, and he has evasive. So I am not too sure why I would want to play this card, because he's evasive, and the main thing I guess is that his evasive is less of a trying to just quest for lore, and rather it's more of a you just keep him there until you're ready to hit whatever particular character you want to. So in that sense, evasive. It's okay, but at anything that is 2 willpower or less, I don't think there's that many resist stuff so far after we've seen the whole entire Rise of Floodborn cards that we need to consider that people won't stop playing Grab Your Swords at this point of time. So anything 2 willpower or less is not really that great for me. So yeah, I'm gonna put him as a C for now. Moving on. Hey Hey Persistent Presence. 2 costs with 2/1 stats, and when it's banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. So Hey Hey by himself has basically the power of playing your Magic Broom together with your Wayward Sorcerer. So I think this is a really nice card to definitely consider. Of course, he doesn't have the reduced cost like for your Wayward Sorcerer. He actually makes your brooms cheaper to play by 1 cost, so that's one thing to consider. But he has this ability built in himself, so I think it's pretty nice just to play it on a turn 2, use it for a good challenge, you get it back into your hand, and after that you just ink it so you don't waste up that 1 card. Just use it as a one-time off, use it to just challenge something, or just keep on questing until your opponent takes out Hey Hey, and then just add it back to hand, and the following turn, use it as ink. That's it. Just in a way, just use it for damage while you maintain your board presence for an early game play. So that's the thought I have. Next, we have Fairy Godmother here to help. 5 cost character with 3/7 stats, 2 lore, and she's a vanilla. So I mean, do I want to consider this together with Eudora? Because Eudora is a 1/9, so that's total of 10. This is a 3/7, also a total of 10, 2 lore. So basically both cards are kind of similar. I prefer Fairy Godmother's stats, but again, would I be playing a vanilla with just 2 lore at this point of time? I think that at this point of time, if I'm going to play a vanilla, it better have at least 3 lore and at least sub-decent stats that I would consider. Then I'll consider playing a vanilla. So I think this goes to... I kind of don't know. If I put her here, then Eudora has to come down as well. Maybe she can go to here. Maybe there's people who can prove me wrong that vanillas can still have a thing in this set for Rise of Floodborn. But that's not the main point here. That's not the main Fairy Godmother we want to talk about. The main Fairy Godmother we want to talk about is Fairy Godmother Mystic Armor. This Fairy Godmother who gave a sword to your Cinderella Knight in training and basically got her stout-hearted. Fairy Godmother Mystic Armor is kind of one of the best cards for these remainder 40 cards that we just got today. So Fairy Godmother is a 5 cost character with 3/4 stats and 2 lore, and she's a Shift 2, so you can actually play her by turn 2. The only issue is, similar to Mulan, she has no turn 1 character, no 1-ink Fairy Godmother that you can play. The lowest cost she has right now is a 3 cost character for Fairy Godmother, so you can't really achieve playing her on turn 2. You have to play her that bit later. But I guess it might be okay because her ability is kind of a not really straight for early game, although actually I think you can benefit of it, which is whenever this Fairy Godmother quest, your characters gain Challenger +3, and they actually gain a specific effect written down on the text of Fairy Godmother here. It's written down, which is when this character is banished in a challenge, return this card to your hand. So same ability as Hey Hey, and same ability as your Wayward Sorcerer for bringing back your brooms. All that kind of good stuff they can think of right now, she straight away gives them, and she gives it to all your characters when she is questing. The ones that are there on the board when she's questing, they all get it, and they get Challenger +3. So it's a really strong ability. This is the best card I think that is good for, say, your Weenie decks. I will actually say this could be played by an Amber and Amethyst thing to combine them. And yeah, you can really just make good use of it. So I think that's interesting. Is it good enough for you to play an Amethyst Steel deck? That's something to think about, but just by itself, Fairy Godmother here, I think this is a S tier card. Her only holdback is just that she needs a 1 cost Fairy Godmother, and she would be Perfect. Perfect card. Okay, moving on. We have Binding Contract. So exert this card, then exert one of the characters, exert a chosen character. I don't think this is that great because if you exert one of your own characters, that means you can't challenge whatever you are exerting on their side. And this is a 4-cost item. Sure, it becomes free and you can keep using it ever once you play it, but I don't think it's that great. I would personally just say if you are going to play Binding Contract, might as well play Freeze. Because yes, it might be a one-time use card since Freeze is an action card, but then it costs cheaper and at the same time you don't have to exert your own characters. That means you can just exert anything from your opponent's side and then just go for the challenge and take them out and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, maybe you should definitely consider Freeze because I've been proven wrong about high cost item cards before. So for now, it goes to C tier. Moving on, we have Crooked Mallet. Banish this item, a chosen character gains rush this turn, and they can challenge the turn they are played. So this is a very nice one, simply because it's just a 1-cost item. It's kind of your White Rabbit pocket watch, but then you just straight away give just that one character because this Crooked Mallet gets banished. So is it that great? I think it's a good card, simply because it costs 1 only. It can make it into an item deck, mainly cheap items for your Tamatoa. Why not? Next, Arthur Trained Swordsman. So 4-cost character with 4/3 stats and 2 lore. The people who want to play the Sword in the Stone team decks will definitely play this. He's actually decent by stats alone, but I still go back to saying that if you want to play a vanilla deck, a vanilla character in your deck, it better be pretty darn good. And right now for this one, he's just okay, I feel. Because yes, he gives you 2 lore, but he is banished by Smash. And that's it. So maybe I'm getting too much PTSD from playing against Ember Steel decks in online, but yeah, I will have that concern. So I don't think he's that great, but maybe he can just stay here for now. Next, moving on. Tiana True Princess. Now this is the interesting one. Tiana at 5 cost, she's a 5/3 character with 3 lore. So Emerald Inc. is finally getting their own 3-cost character that is gonna be used for 5 ink. That, yeah, yes, we had Costco and Mad Hatter, but hear me out. Both of those, they had their various decent abilities, but they had pretty dismal stats at 2/4. So this one, there was a total of 6. This one gives you a total of 8 stats. And in a sense, she is kind of similar to Costco because this one can also take out your opponent's character when they crash into her simply because she also has 5 strength. Again, the only issue with this whole discussion is 3 willpower. It is destroyed by Smash, which at 5 cost, I'll be very sad if I saw my character getting banished to Smash. So maybe this one goes here. Why I rate her that bit lower than Arthur is just because her cost is higher. She should at least have 4 willpower, I feel. I would even feel better with, say, 4/4 maybe. Next, Ratigan Criminal Mastermind. He's a 4-cost character, 4/1 evasive. So, and 2 lore. The only thing is, this Ratigan, his issue is we already have Tinkerbell most helpful. So, do I really need this Ratigan? Especially when it's a Ratigan that, and unlike Tinkerbell, he is going to be taken out by Grab Your Swords. Even that single Tinkerbell Giant Fairy that drops down and this Ratigan bites the dust. Like, really? So, do I want to play this Ratigan? No, not really. If he had maybe 3 lore, I would consider him. If he had 2 willpower, maybe I would consider him. But no matter what, I think it's pretty hard to overpower that Tinkerbell most helpful, especially when she has that additional ability to give a character of yours evasive. It's not too useful most of the time, other than when you're playing against that Simba and Lilo exact bot on the opponent's side, but it's still a thing. So I wouldn't play this Ratigan. Other than maybe of a villain deck, this Ratigan belongs here. Moving on, Gaston Scheming Suitor. Yeah, Suitor. So, when one or more opponents have no cards in their hands, this character gets +3 strength. So this is an interesting card simply because it's obviously made for multiplayer, because as long as one of your opponent does not have any cards in hand at all, then he gets +3 strength. So at two cost character with 4/3 stats is of course fantastic. The issue is, just as a single player thing against a single opponent, how often is your opponent not going to have any cards in hand at all? Very minimal. And even if they do, when in the following turn that is their turn, they just draw one card, they can keep it in hand while they get something to challenge this Gaston and take it out safely while he has only 1 strength. So yeah, not fantastic. He's probably the multiplayer idea that actually just keeps him there. Okay. Next, we have Dr. Fossilia, Fortune Teller. I actually thought this is an interesting card simply because it's a 7 cost character with 4/4 stats, and he has evasive, plus whenever this character quests, a chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. So that's kind of like John Silver, which is actually pretty decent. And the thing is that yes, his cost is really pretty high, but he has 3 law and he has evasive, and considering that he is not very easy to take out even with say a smash, yes I PTSD, then yeah, I think this is actually a card that's not bad. The only small issue with it is it doesn't fit into the more aggro play, which I personally like for Emerald Ink, because they can actually rush for the law really quickly. And they don't really need to go above 6 ink even most of the time. I've often seen Emerald decks that only stay at 5. But yes, let's just say 6 for discussion, because a lot of people like playing the John Silver and the Genies. Then do you even want 7? Because that means not just the 7 cost for this card, you actually have to ink 1 more card, so it does cost that much more. I would say that maybe it's still not bad. It's just that it doesn't really fit into the concept of the aggro Emerald Ink right now, which, look, they are even getting cards like Tiana with a 5/3 and 3 law. They want to go aggressive and just quickly quest for law. So I don't think I really want to play a turn 7 card. Just that, well, he's inkable anyway, so maybe it's not as big an issue. Genie will bounce 1 character back to hand so that it doesn't stay on the board, while Dr. Fossilia is going to be just questing and just blocking them from questing every single turn. So that's kind of the same job. Both of them have evasive. So yeah, I think there might be a slot for him. Next, we have Pain Underworld Imp. And this is one of my favorite cards for the release for this time round, for this whole day, for the 40 plus cards, because he actually has a really nice ability. But stats wise first, 2 costs with 1/4 stats, that's pretty basic. So Pain is a 2 cost character with 1/4 stats. So that's pretty much the basic stats for 2 cost characters. We had the Snow White early on with 2/3. This one is a 1/4, pretty much similar. But the main thing is that Pain actually has an additional ability. When he has 5 strength or more, he gains 2 law. So he can quest for 3, which obviously means you're supposed to pair him up, of course, with Panic, because Panic is a 3 cost character that gives +2 strength to any character, except when he giving it to Pain, he will give +4. That means if you just play your Pain and you play Panic next, you give your strength to Pain, and then he is straight away a 5 strength character that can quest for 3. A 2 cost character that can quest for 3 is really actually very fantastic. So yeah, I think that this is a combo that I would definitely want to consider playing out. That said, he doesn't really have any other ability, and it's not really that easy to increase his strength outside of playing Panic, which the Emerald Ink right now doesn't really have as much. So that's something to be considered, but just for this particular combination alone, I think this is something that can definitely be considered. I guess it works well with the Queen commanding presence that gives +4 strength straight away. So A or B? I would say let's put it as a B for now, because by himself he's not that fantastically useful. You need to combo him with something else. Yet of course, there's the weird thing to consider where if he has additional strength, you kind of mainly want to use him to smack someone, because he has 4 willpower. He's going to probably survive that challenge. But yet, you want to quest with him because he has 3 law. So what do you do? I don't know. It depends on the board, I guess. But yeah, I think that Pain is definitely a pretty good card that I would definitely consider putting into an Emerald deck. Kind of depends on deck build. Next, we have Pete Bad Guy. So finally, the bad guy, the OG for Mickey Mouse and Friends is here. And he is actually pretty interesting because he has ward at 3/4. So that's slightly better than Costco and Mad Hatter with 2 law. So yeah, one lesser law, you get another character with ward. And when you play an action, this character gets +2 strength this turn. And while this character has 7 strength or more, then he gets +2 law. So he'll actually give you 4 law if you can manage to play 2 actions in 1 turn. There's quite a lot of nice options now with Rise of the Floodborn that I think Pete is actually not bad. He might even be considered to be taking over the slot for Mad Hatter because another character with ward is actually a really nice character to have. And the opportunity just to get 4 law at one go, I think is something that can't be missed. Yeah. And I really would just fancy having a character that does not just get banished to Dragonfire on turn 5 right away. So I would personally consider playing Pete over a Mad Hatter. So yes. Next, we are moving into Ruby Ink. We have Bone. I hope I get that correctly. Bone? Precocious Entrepreneur. And he just reminds me of that face where he's trying to act cool on the boat from Raya and the Last Dragon. Okay. That said, why? We have another character that has the exact same stats as back in the first chapter. This is comparable to Donald Duck Boisterous Fowl. So the similar stats and everything is the same, no abilities. I don't like that smug face, so I would prefer playing Donald Duck over him, but maybe it's precisely because of that face that you, playing a Ruby deck, might choose to play Bone over Donald Duck. Let me know in comments below, but I'm putting him as a C because I just am not a fan of that face and artwork. Next, we have Felicia, Always Hungry. 1 cost character with 3/1 stat and Reckless. So I think this is actually very interesting. We finally got something with a 1 cost 3/1 stat. Just that Felicia has Reckless. So the opposite stat of Olaf, but with Reckless. Is that great? I think that's something to be considered because at 1 cost with 3/1, that means that Felicia is pretty much going to be taking out every single card that your opponent can manage to exert or quest or whatever it is. It's going to have a nice exchange for probably the first 2 or 3 inks in the gameplay. So I think Felicia is not bad, just that it again might not fit into Amethyst Ruby in the current build. So yeah, I'm not too sure is that needed. Maybe you can let me know, guys. Like, would you prefer to continue playing your Sergeant Tips, or would you be playing Felicia here? I still like personally having Tips because I think that having that 2 willpower can still be good sometimes to take out an opponent's card. Like, I regularly have issues seeing a Tips when I have my Flynn Rider out and their Tips is not going to get banished in the exchange. I don't feel it's that worth it. But yeah, I think this is definitely a card that should be considered for the build. So for Namari Nemesis, she has 4 costs, 3/3 stats, 1 law, and she has Exert herself, banish herself, and you can banish a chosen character. It's a remover card for your Ruby Ink. So for people who are saying that they have issues getting some smaller form of remover, cheaper remover, then yeah, Namari Nemesis might be your go-to because she can basically remove any character as long as she can stay alive till the following turn, which this has a decent chance of. Yes, it has issues of being banished by Smash, but yeah, I think that if I lost my Namari to a Smash, I will actually feel it's okay because it's quite a pretty even trade in a way. So yeah, I wouldn't have issues. I think this is a pretty decent card that they should really consider putting into their builds to just have some extra removal. Next, we have Queen of Hearts Sensing Weakness. So this is a shift 2. You can play her by turn 2, so that's kind of crazy. And also, let the game begin. Whenever one of your characters challenge another character, you may draw a card. So I think this is actually not bad. You can actually get to draw more cards. Sure, she doesn't have a 1 cost Queen of Hearts at the moment. She only has a 2 cost, which is also Ruby, which is Rush. But actually, I think that's okay, and card draw is pretty valued. You have many characters challenging to get card draw, which fits perfectly well with the strategy for Shere Khan, to have more of your characters challenging and to actually just gain more lore in that sense for Shere Khan. So this is for you to consider if Ruby can actually take this other route to kind of go for a multi-character deck and not really the control deck anymore. build out a lot of characters on a field and just go challenge them. Of course, playing maybe Mulan Imperial Soldier. I'm still hoping for people to work out that deck. So yes, something for consideration. Lady Tremaine Imperious Queen. So 6-cost character with Shift 4, which is not fantastic stats though, because she has only 3-4 stats with 2 law. But when you play this character, each opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters. I think actually this is pretty good, simply because your opponent chooses and banishes one of their characters, which means if they only have a Casco on the field, they have to banish that character. And let's just say, forget about shifting into her, let's just consider playing her outright as a 6-cost character, which is actually pretty okay because it's still remover. Of course, you might have a small issue if your opponents have a lot of characters on the board, but then at turn 6 or maybe slightly later, they're not really supposed to have that many characters on the board anymore because they're going to be worried about your Be Prepared, your best card for Ruby Ink. So if they're going to have lesser characters on the board, maybe after you already played a Be Prepared earlier on or they're wary of one coming up, then Lady Tremaine is actually one card they should definitely consider putting into your deck. Because the deck currently, I think, doesn't really have great turn 6 plays anyway, because most of their good characters are all on turn 7, so why not consider this Lady Tremaine? Some extra remover. Her only issue is she's not inkable, which the deck doesn't really like, but yeah, I think this might have a spot for the Ruby control decks to consider. So let's put her up at A tier. Actually, even the Queen of Hearts, let's just say if the aggro kind of multiple character zoo deck can work out, then yeah, she should be in A tier also. Definitely for consideration. Okay, next. What do you call me? A chosen damage character gets +3 strength this turn. That's not bad. You can use your stuff to crash to it, but Ruby Ink, I guess it'll work out if you have the multi-character build with your Queen of Hearts and Shere Khan, then you have many characters. But that being said, currently, we don't really see a deck being good just because it can pump a lot of strength fast. What you want is law. You want to build up your law really quickly. So this card, I would say, can be considered just because it's cheap and it's inkable. If you don't like it, just ink it, and that's the end of the discussion. So I would say it can be considered, but I wouldn't expect to see it in play, at least for the current Ruby control deck. Next, we have Caterpillar, Calm, and Collected, who basically is the one thing I was talking about when I said that if a character wants to be a vanilla, and you want to play a vanilla character when you have so many choices right now, it has to be something like this. Because by turn 3, yes, he has dismal stats. His stats is basically like Olaf with 1-3, but at turn 3, he gives you 3 laws, and that is the earliest one we've gotten so far. As a vanilla, previously the limit was at, say, for Hans and your Prince Charming, where at 4 costs you could get 3 law. Now it can be done with a turn 3 play. So that's a lot of law you can gather very quickly. I think this is definitely a card that will be played just because if you want to go aggro, you want to play this. By turn 3, just gain 3 law outright. Okay, then we have the Nook, Water Spirit from Frozen. So at 4 cost, 4-3 and 1 law, and he has Ward. So he is alright, but at 4 cost, 4-3, the stats are not optimal. And just giving you Ward, I mean, sure, he wouldn't be getting banished due to smash, but he's not really gaining that much law anyway at 1 law. I think he'll be better if he had 2 law, but at 1 law, I know Ward is a very valued keyword to have, but it's not valuable enough for me in this sense to actually just play this character. Okay, then we have Rabbit. Rabbit is a 5-cost character with 4-6 stats and 2 law. So that's okay for a vanilla. Again, I'll be playing it only if you want to play a team deck with your Piglet, so that he actually gives you the points for your league points. But otherwise, I don't really see people playing this. Considering that you have Maleficent uninvited, you might as well just take 1 lesser strength and get an extra law point instead. That's a lot more useful. Next, we have Duke Weaselton, the 2-cost character with 1-2 stats and 2 law with Ward. I think actually this is not bad because yeah, Ward is of course valued. His stats and law points is similar to Flynn Rider, but his, I mean, two willpower is not really strong enough to just stay safe from a grab your swords, which Ward will do nothing against, and he's just gonna be taken out. So yeah, I think that this one is, personally, I would have treat it as a vanilla actually, because you want, if you play him turn 2, you're not going to want to quest with him because an Sergeant Tips or even your Felicia, whichever it is going to be taking out this Duke Whistleton. He's okay, but he is not worth it to play at, in my opinion. Next, we have Jasmine here of Agrabah. So when you play this character, remove up to 1 damage from a chosen character of yours. She's a 1 cost 1/2 stat with 1 loss. So basically this is your Timon from the first chapter, but now in Sapphire Ink. But this is really good for Sapphire Ink because Sapphire Ink has your Grand Pebby. So with Grand Pebby over there, if one of the character gets healed, you gain law. Of course, there's the Rapunzel gives the artist, they'll give you card draw as well. So more of these cards are actually nice for the deck. I want to see a healing deck work out well, not just the standard Steel Song deck which just only throws in Rapunzel and that's it. I want to see a proper healing deck really work out well, and yeah, that's my thoughts for this one. So I would say this one is a B tier if people would want to play a healing deck. Then we have Noai. I'm not sure of this name, I'm really sorry. I watched the show but I can't remember the name at all. And she has hide and seek. While you have an item in play, she gains resist +1 and ward, which is actually not bad. So she has the exact same stats as the Duke Whistleton, but when you have an item card in play, she gains the same ward, plus she has resist +1, which is okay, I guess, because at 2 costs, if you play her early game enough, let's say your first turn play is an item card with Popsicle, yes? So with Popsicle, you can play turn 1, get a card draw, and then your item card, you play a Noi, and then yeah, you can actually start questing for 2, and your opponents don't really have maybe a 3 strength character ready right away to take her out that easily. In the right Sapphire deck, I would say you will at least consider playing this. This is a decent card. We have James, Role Model. James Role Model, when this character is banished, you may put this card in your Inkwell face down and exerted. So the same ability as Grammatella. But Grammatella doesn't have as good stats, fully agreed. This one actually has much better stats at 4 ink, and you have 3/3 with 2 law, so that's kind of the basic good stats with 2 law, like a vanilla. The issue is he is not inkable. So do you really want to play this card? I think it's something that we can consider if you are playing a Bell Strange Part Special, of course, where you want to get to 10 law. But aside from that, considering that he can't be inked, I will need to see a full build to consider whether this card is really that decent. For now, he goes into B. Then we have Maurice Workshop, which finally has a bit more cards for item decks. Whenever you play another item, you may pay 1 ink to draw a card. So this is something nice because it's just pretty easy to draw. I think this is not bad simply because you can get access to the drawing ability from Maurice much easier, because Maurice's cost is a bit high. So Workshop might be something to be considered for the item deck, where you can just keep on drawing much faster. I like that the item decks are getting support. They aren't that good right now from the first chapter, and them getting more support is definitely allowing that deck to see a bit of more possibilities. So I would say Maurice Workshop is definitely at least a B tier. So let's just say for item specific deck, this is definitely a A tier. You would definitely want to consider playing some of these if you're playing an item deck for the card draw. And we're done with Sapphire. We're ending off with Steel very soon. First up, we have Tiana, which is getting the Olaf treatment. 1/3 stats, 1 cost with 1 law. Very basic, very nice. The only thing is, I wish, of course, Tiana had a Floodborn to be played with. If you have a Floodborn, then yeah, this 1 cost character will make it a lot more perfect. She doesn't. She has 2 vanillas and she has the Tiana Celebrating Princess. I think it's not bad to give more people, more inks, the option of playing an Olaf. So I would put her as a B tier to be considered for the deck. Then we have Hercules Hero in Training. You see, this is what I meant by saying different inks, different treatment, because Amber ink already has your Simba Protective Cup, and now they got a Snow White that heals characters. And then over here in the other inks for 2 costs with decent stats 2-3, we get vanillas. That's it. But of course, Hercules is different because Hercules has a Floodborn, which is a Shift 4, the one with Resist +2. So actually, this is a card to be considered simply because if you want to go into your Shift earlier on, simply because you want to go into your Shift for Hercules Divine Hero, then I think this Hercules Hero in Training, it should be considered because he just has decent stats, even though it's vanilla, but it's a decent amount of stats. So yeah, does the steel deck really need the Hercules? I'm not so sure at the moment, but yeah, let's put him here for at least a possibility. Then we have Pacha. Pacha is your stats for Carefree Surfer because he's a 4/8 character with 2 lore, but he's at 6 cost. So with 1 ink lesser, I know it's different ink still, but for 1 ink lesser, he becomes a vanilla for the Stitch Carefree Surfer. Vanillas have to be decent for me to really consider at least a Floodborn that you can shift into, then yes, I'll definitely consider that vanilla. But aside from that, I don't really think vanilla stats are quite important, and this one is okay stats, but at that higher cost, I want some ability that's like a boss. Otherwise, it's just going to be taken out by a Dragonfire and he will achieve nothing. So yeah. Finally, after we clear all the vanillas, we have the better stuff, like this one. We were talking about 6 cost Pacha being not useful, then this one is definitely something to consider with Kronk, Junior Chipmunk. 6 cost 4/5, 2 lore, resist +1, though that's decent. And he has the second ability of Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, which is when he banishes another character in the challenge, you can deal 2 damage to a chosen opponent character. So this is something that people have been saying. Is Tinkerbell better? Is this better? You know, Tinkerbell comes in and straight just blasts everyone with that 1 damage to all characters. So maybe that's better, but Kronk will survive better because of the resist +1. But then is this resist that important? That's something up to the meta because there's always going to be Dragonfire. There's a lot of direct removal with your last stand, with your diabolical scheme and all that kind of stuff. So I think Kronk is still okay. Can be considered if you are already playing full on all your Tinkerbell Giant Fairies and you want to look for more good characters to play, then I think this is something to consider for Steel Ink. Other than your Hercules Divine Hero, and you have your Kronk now to add to your decent Steel Ink higher cost characters to be played. Then we have Benja, Guardian of the Dragon Gem. 3 cost, 2/3 stats with 2 lore, and when you play this character, you may banish a chosen item. So this is your Beast Hard-Headed, but as a 3 cost character, I think it's nice. It makes it a lot cheaper, but I kind of have an issue because there's talking about trying to make item slinger decks good. They're not really great yet. Yet here comes another option for your current top Ember Steel deck to actually take out that risk. I would like to have more options for item removal in other inks besides, say, currently you have your Judy Hopps that can take out item cards. I think Benja is a decent consideration. I think that you should definitely replace your Beast with this Benja right away, unless you have nothing better to play for your 5 costs and you rather play that because you have your 5 costs Whole New World, you have a 5 cost Grab Your Swords, then your 5 cost characters are very important for the deck. Yes, I fully agree that you want to carry on playing your Beast Hard-Headed, at least. Last card, ignore this Baloo, I put him in by accident. We have the Beast Selfless Protector, which is a very nice Beast card simply because he's basically a bodyguard for all your characters and he doesn't need to be exerted at all. Because if any of your other characters are getting damaged, they'll damage him instead, which is kind of like, in essence, just challenging him first. So that's basically a bodyguard. A 6 cost 2/8 character with bodyguard is not bad, but think about it, it's not just a direct bodyguard because he would block damage from an action card, item card, song cards as well. So If you have another character on the board with then your opponent plays a grab your sword or thief and ambitions, then the Be Selfless Protector will take on that damage. So yes, it's still better than a bodyguard. So in that aspect, what I played, I think is a decent consideration. 6 costs, there have been a few decent 6 costs now. Your Hercules with your Krong, and now we're talking about your Be Selfless Protector. I think he is not bad to be considered, but as a maybe, I don't think he is like a definite must play for the deck. So we actually have a decent amount of cards, quite a good chunk of them are really pretty good that you should definitely consider be playing in your decks, and they are quite nicely spread out over the different inks. The winners over here, I feel, is definitely Fairy Godmother. She's a very good card. Your Gaston is definitely something to consider as well. 3 costs can sing for 5. And you have your Snow White. Your Hey Hey is a really nice pick also. Pete is also a decent replacement for Mad Hatter. And yeah, quite a few good stuff personally that I think should be definitely considered as well. So that's my thoughts on this review today for Rise of Floodborn. And we are finally done. We are finally done for the Rise of the Floodborn. We've finally covered all 24 cards. That's the whole idea, and I actually covered all of them. I'm so happy this time around that I managed to cover all the cards. This is really big thanks to the help of Marius. He's been helping me out with the wiki, so I have time to actually take myself away from the wiki for a short while to do this video for you guys. So thank you everyone for watching. Thank you to Marius for helping me out. And that's the end of this video. This is D Summon from Mushu Report, signing out. See you in the next one. Bye guys.